A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Retold by Carol Adorjan. Illustrated by Frederick Marvin. Are you ready? Here we go. Sarah Crewe stood close beside her father at the bottom of a flight of stairs leading up to a tall, narrow house. A brass sign on the door read, Miss Minchin's School for Girls. Sarah hugged Emily, the new doll her father had bought her. Sarah's large blue eyes were sad. "Is this the place?" she asked. Captain Crewe looked down at his daughter. "Yes," he answered. "This is where you'll be staying." Sarah slipped her hand into his. Just as they were about to go up the stairs, they heard loud shouts behind them. Out of the London fog came several children, all laughing, talking, and looking very much alike. One big happy family, Sarah thought, feeling even sadder. As the children passed by, Captain Crewe said, "You see how happy everyone is, Sarah? London is a good place to live. Before long, you'll be right at home here." Sarah wasn't so sure. Up until now, she had lived her whole life in India, where her father would now return. No place would seem like home without him. Captain Crewe squeezed her hand as they went up the stairs. Sarah's mother had died when she was born, so Sarah and her father were especially close. He knew what she was thinking. He knew Sarah would be lonely without him, just as he would be lonely without her. "It's for the best," he told her. You'll meet girls your own age and learn lots of new things. Every day will be a new adventure." Oh, yes. I love adventures. Anyway, Sarah brightened. "And before long, we'll have a vacation," she said. Then you'll come to get Emily and me." Captain Crewe laughed as he opened the heavy door for Sarah. "That's my brave little soldier," he said. Inside, a tall, thin woman emerged from the shadows. "Ah, Captain Crewe," she said. "We've been expecting you." She turned her large fish-like eyes on Sarah. "This must be Sarah. What a beautiful child." Sarah felt uncomfortable. She didn't think of herself as beautiful, and she didn't believe the woman really meant what she said. "How do you do, Miss Minchin?" she said politely. "Your rooms are ready," Miss Minchin said. Then she smiled at Captain Crewe. The smile didn't seem to fit her face, and Sarah was sure the woman was not in the habit of smiling. "We hope Sarah will be comfortable here." "Has Mariette arrived?" Captain Crewe asked. Mariette was a French maid he had hired for Sarah. "She is expected any minute," Miss Minchin replied. All along the hall, doors opened a crack as they walked by. Children peeked out, eager to see this new girl whose father was rich and who had come from a far-off place. Lottie Lay, the youngest girl, thought Sarah looked elegant. "See her clothes?" she murmured to the others. "Oh, and that beautiful doll. They're even dressed alike." "She looks like a princess," one of the other girls said. The oldest girl, Lavinia, frowned. Until now, she had been thought of as the girls' leader. She didn't like the idea that someone else might take her place. Little insecure, are we? Yeah, everyone has their insecurities. Upstairs, Miss Minchin opened the door on a light, airy room filled with Sarah's own things from home. Sarah's clothes trunk, which had arrived just before she did, stood in the center of the room. A smaller suitcase was beside it. A girl about Sarah's age knelt by the fireplace. Soot smudges lined her face, and coal dust clung to her neck to her ragged black dress. Sarah didn't seem to notice the girl's appearance. "Hello, I'm Sarah Crew," she said. "What's your name?" Standing behind Sarah, her hands on her hips, Miss Minchin gave the ragged girl a disapproving look. Without a word, the girl grabbed her coal bucket and moved quickly out of the room. Sarah was puzzled. "Who was that?" she asked. "And why did she go away like that?" Miss Minchin waved away Sarah's concern. "That was Becky," she said. "She should have had that fire going hours ago. She left because she knows servants have no business talking to my girls." Sarah didn't understand that. Servants were surely the same as everyone else, only their jobs were different. Her father motioned her to the front window. "Look here," he said. "You have a fine view of the whole street." Outside, the children they had seen when they arrived were playing noisily. The large family is what Sarah decided to call them. "Do they live nearby?" she asked Miss Minchin. "Down the street," Miss Minchin answered. "A very noisy brood. Their father is a lawyer. You'd think he'd be stricter with them." Sarah ran to the side window. It faced the house next door. "Who lives there?" she asked. "No one," Miss Minchin told her. "That house is empty. Has been for years." Somehow this news made Sarah sad. "If you need anything," added Miss Minchin, "just call." She then excused herself and left the room. When they were alone, Captain Crew put his arm around Sarah. "Well, my little princess, what do you think?" "It's a lovely room," Sarah said, but she suddenly felt like crying. Her father would leave soon, and she would be alone. "I'll miss you, Sarah," her father said. She threw her arms around him. "I won't cry," she thought. I'll be a brave soldier." "I'll miss you too, Papa." He looked at her long and hard. "You'll be all right," he said. It sounded more like a question. "I have Emily," Sarah said, holding the doll close. Captain Crew smiled. "You made the right choice. She'll be good company." Emily was a beautiful doll with curly golden brown hair and deep clear blue eyes. Captain Crew thought the doll had an intelligent expression. He and Sarah had shopped all over London and had nearly given up hope of finding just the right doll until Sarah saw her in a shop window. It was as though Emily had been waiting for them. Captain Crew gave his daughter one last hug, and then he left the room. Oh. Sarah ran to the front window, waving to her father as he climbed into the waiting carriage and drove away. She leaned out the window to watch until the horse and carriage disappeared around the corner. It was then that Sarah took a closer look at the empty house beside the school. Its window stared at her blankly. "I'm as empty as that house," Sarah told Emily. There was a knock at the door, and Mariette, the French maid, peeked in. "Is someone here with you, Sarah?" she asked. Sarah was happy to see her. "Just Emily," she said, showing her the doll. "We were talking." As they unpacked Sarah's trunk, Sarah told Mariette what she believed about dolls. "They can do things they won't let us know about," she explained. "Emily can probably read and talk and walk, but she'll only do it when no one's around." Kind of like Toy Story. Because if people knew dolls could do all that, they'd make them work. It's a secret. Someday, though, Emily might trust me enough to let her to let me catch her at it. Mariette's laugh was warm and comforting. It made Sarah feel less lonely. Stay tuned for part 2. See you later. Bye.